Hello, welcome back to the Fashion Nap. I am so excited for this week's episode. I challenge you to watch this interview and not leave feeling at least 10 times better than you felt before, because I'm speaking with Herbie Mensah, and I truly believe he has cracked the code to an enjoyable life. Herbie is full of stories. He used to be a soul boy, he was a model, he actually modelled for John Galliano's graduate collection, he's modelled for Vivienne Westwood, but he's also a very sustainable fashion designer. He makes these incredible creations out of already existing items. He is the king of upcycling. And I got to actually go to his studio and have a snoop around, see all the things he's been making, and hear his story and hear his process. Don't you love hearing a designer's process? It's definitely a feel good episode. Instead of a secondary guest this week, I really wanted to spend a bit of time spotlighting some ways in which we can help the people of Palestine. As much as it's fun to sit here and talk about fashion and creativity and inspire each other and have a good time, there's a genocide unfolding before our eyes. I've been donating to Heal Palestine, which is an organisation helping people get out of Gaza and to other countries to have treatment, and pairing children with families and giving people that rehabilitation that they need. Operation Olive Branch are a grassroots foundation which is amplifying the voices of those reporting from Gaza, providing eSIMs and doing all that they can to help this horrific situation. They've also just started 2 new branches for Congo and Sudan, because unfortunately the suffering is not just in Palestine. People are suffering horrific situations in many parts of the world. I am by no means an expert, but what I am is a person with a heart and a brain, and you can clearly see that this is wrong. I don't know what it's going to take for this to end, but I do know that while this is going on, we should be doing what we can, because unfortunately the government are not going to step up and do what they should be doing. So if you have any other organisations that you guys have been supporting, please share them. Let's go and meet Herbie. I'm on my way to Herbie's studio, and one thing I'm going to say is God bless people who send you written directions to get to where they are, because Google Maps fails me every time, and it's very old school, but it's how I roll. A written instruction is underrated. Also, British weather. When I got on the train, it was so cold, and now I've gotten off and it's so hot. I've got a skirt, I've got trousers, I've got an overcoat, I've got 2 tops on. Like, it's just chaos. So I'm sitting down with someone who I think is one of the most fascinating people in fashion, and I'm so honoured to be here and hear your story. So this is Herbie Mensah.
Good morning, Charlie. Thank you.
So we're sitting down, we're having a tea, and I want to hear the whole story. So a lot of people that might have found out who you are recently know you for your vintage and your amazing creations that we are surrounded by in this room.
Yeah.
It's like a feast for the eyes. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Well, a lot of it is to be worked on. So basically all the stuff that I've sort of collected over the past few years, and that most of it is jackets, because I love working on jackets, because I feel that's one of, well, everybody wears a jacket at some point, and I basically love creating on jackets, basically.
I love that you can see everything, because I feel like that's where you start putting combinations together in your head.
And it helps obviously because I get a lot of people visiting as well, and that sort of people can take a look, choose a jacket to work on.
Your design journey started in your 60s.
Yes.
So I want to kind of get into a bit of that, and also talk about your amazing design work. So you've said before that you got a lot of inspiration from the creativity of the 1980s nightlife scene. Should we start there, and then you can kind of fill in the blanks?
Yeah, well basically, like I say, I'd go back to when obviously I was a kid and I was clubbing and partying and whatnot and having a good time. And obviously money was very, very scarce. So basically you sort of made your own fashion, and that either from charity shops, jumble sales or whatever, and that, and you're putting things together. And I mean, I was a soul boy. I was very much into the soul scene, and like you live to dance basically. And there were certain clubs. Practically every night of the week there would be a different club. And I basically took inspiration watching other people as well, and thinking, I can do something better than that. So you'd come up with something better next week, and it was like a bit of a competition, either on the dance floor or you're a bit of a dresser. I was an okay dancer, but I was more of a dresser and everything. Yes, so basically I took my inspiration, finding clothing to put together and to look good.
So that was kind of like, the approach of having the best outfit, and that approach to how you build an outfit kind of carried through to your work.
Basically, yeah. But obviously, from there, it was a case of, like I say, you didn't have much money, and the journey was really sort of finding your own individual style. well, obviously we had a day job as well at the time, and that, and you're sort of working during the day job, and you're thinking about what am I going to wear tonight to go out to this club and work at that club, and you sort of build a picture in your mind of what you want to look like, what you want to sort of put on. So you'd go out and source it one way or another, and it was either from the shops, you'd earn money, then you'd go and buy something, then you'd add it with something that's sort of vintage or second hand at the time.
So you also work as a model?
Yes.
You say that a bit sheepishly, but you do. That's the truth. That's the truth of it.
That's true, yeah.
And I've been doing my reading, and I know that you started with a few big clients. I will say you had Herbie Mensah, the Jean-Paul Gaultiers. Tell me about this time. Like, how did it all come about?
Well, purely by accident. You know, it was a case of like I was down the West End shopping one evening, and I was invited to a party that evening, but I didn't want to go all the way back home to get changed and come back out again. So it was a case of like, end up going to this club early, but obviously it wasn't open. So there was three of us stood outside. One guy was called Michael Collins. He was the manager of the World's End shop at the time. There was another guy who was a dancer, who was a friend of mine. This one who was a friend of mine, who was a dancer, he knew Michael.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know Michael. But obviously the club hadn't opened yet, so we decided to go for a meal. And during the meal, Michael asked me if I wanted to do a fashion show. And I said, oh, yes, great, yeah, fine. And I goes, who's it for? He goes, it's for Vivienne Westwood. And I said, oh, that'd be great. Fine. Not thinking anything of it, because obviously you think, well, bullshit. Yeah. But anyway, he took my number. And the next day he called me and said, well, come down to the World's End shop and sort of hang about. So I went down to the shop, hung about, and I just saw these amazing, wonderful people in the clothing and the creative and the hair and the makeup and stuff. And I thought, it just sort of like opened my eyes, thinking there's another part of creativity, people dressing up as well, which I hadn't sort of like, really known about. But obviously the punk was around about that time as well. So, so you used to see them, but you just think it wasn't really my scene and that. But anyway, cut a long story short, he got me to do the show. Backstage, just before the show, he introduced me to Vivienne, and she totally blanked me. No, because apparently he'd gone over her head to get me to do the show instead of somebody else that she wanted, you see.
So they were having their own behind the scenes drama.
Yeah. So there was, this is it. I could hear her back in the ground, not too happy because I was there and I shouldn't have been there. She wanted to use this other guy, and I thought, oh, God. So anyway, the show came and went. It was in Earl's Court, Pillar Hall, Earl's Court Exhibition Centre. And that was it, yeah. I remember it well. And after the show, she approached me and she absolutely loved me on the catwalk. She said my agent was great. She loved me, blah, 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 blah. And she couldn't thank me enough.
So she had a change of heart.
She had a change of heart, yes. And I went home on a high. It was such a buzz. And I thought, amazing. I'd love to do this again. But I thought it was just a one-off. But anyway, a few days later, Vivienne rang me personally to ask me if I wanted to do the show in Paris. And I was just blown away. And I said, yes. But anyway, yeah. Went to Paris, did the show. It was in the place called Angelina Tea Rooms in the Champs-Élysées. It was, yeah. It was like a cafe, but it had sort of like chandeliers, and it was quite one of those really fancy sort of French sort of like, restaurant cafe type places. It was amazing. But the catwalk was like soap boxes. There wasn't a proper catwalk. So it was like little boxes, different heights. And so you're literally walking on the catwalk, jumping off to make the other model come walk past you, then jump back on the end and go on. And it was quite archaic. It was, very much like Vivienne Westwood. It was a case like no holds barred. It's just such, the clothes were like the seams showing and this and that and everything. It was just absolutely amazing. And we did that. And again, the show was a great success. And that's basically how my model started. I got asked to go to Japan straight after, from Paris to go to Japan. But I was too overwhelmed, so I came home.
Right.
And I just thought, well, do I really want to do this? But anyway, Vivienne rang me again a few days later to ask me if I wanted to do some TV thing up in Liverpool. So I did that, and that was it. I ended up doing about sort of 5-6 shows for her.
Wow.
Amongst other people as well. And I did a lot of this, just for various sort of like labels at the time. A lot of designers were students as well. One, including John Galliano, who's very good. I did Body Map as well at their show.
Wow, how was that?
Yeah, it was great. John Galliano's degree show was just amazing.
Yeah, because I remember that was like the talk of the town. It was like a big deal. He
It was
was like the one
absolutely
to
amazing.
watch
Yeah.
from the jump, really, as soon as he graduated.
Hmm.
So you could say
Yeah.
you were there at the inception.
It was seriously his show. I just thought, looking at his clothes, and I just thought, this guy is going to go far. Obviously, the rest is history. He certainly has. And, yeah.
Well, yeah, he just had
Yeah.
his like resurgence at the Met Gala 2 days ago. Everyone wearing
Yeah.
Galliano
I know,
again.
it's brilliant. Absolutely
Everyone.
fabulous. I know.
He's had his kind of second chance. So you got to experience wearing all these amazing clothes by all of these super talented designers
Yeah.
going around the world. Did you? Two questions. Did you know at that time that you had an interest in design that was more than just getting ready to go out? And then the second part is, did you learn a lot from the designers that you were modeling for that you kind of use today?
At the time, I was always very much into fashion because it's always an extension of your personality.
Mm.
You know, it's like being an artist. If you like into anything, you know, what I mean, it's always an extension of your personality. What you like doing. I love dressing up. My mother was a seamstress. My dad had his suits tailor made, so I got all my fashion creativity from them. And that, yeah, even from a very early age, from the age of like, 6, 7, I loved clothing. I always wanted to go to fashion college, but being from an African parents, they always want you to be an engineer or a doctor or anything. So I didn't have the opportunity to like to go on to study fashion. And plus, at the time, you needed sort of like a art to get into fashion college or anything. So at the time, I always felt I'd love to do fashion, but there was no way I could do so. But I still loved reading magazines and creating my own look at the time as well. So, and the second part was the second part.
Do you feel like when you're working now, obviously you do all these amazing, unique creations. Do you feel like there's things that you learn from seeing those clothes like close up in your modeling days? Because the designers that you seem to be drawn to you were all ones that worked very like in an unorthodox way.
Yeah, well, Vivienne's obviously been a big influence because she was very much into that DIY. It was a case of like, doesn't matter if the seams are showing, doesn't mind if the seams are crooked or whatever. If it's wearable, fashionable, and it's got that something about it, you know, that you can create. You know what I mean? It's like the trousers are twisted, the shirt is buttoned that way instead of straight down the middle, you know, and that's basically what I've taken a lot from her because what I create now is it doesn't have to be straight, you know, it doesn't have to be. The seams are showing. It's great. It's deconstructed. It's like it looks like it's been handmade. It's very much like if I can do it, you can do it sort of look, you know, and that's why I feel like I like to encourage people rather than throw away clothes, work on something that you've had for ages that you feel like it's still got life in it. Doesn't matter if it's got holes in, put a patch on it. If it's got a slit in it, cut it to deconstruct it to make it look like, you know, different, you know.
Yeah.
Add something to it that can give it extend its life and make it look like, you know, fashionable even. A lot of clothing these days are very, very straight. Like I said, I'll grab a jacket, a plain black jacket, and just make something into it. Deconstruct it, patch it, put pads on it, whatever, do anything to it. So make it look like it's not high-end fashion, but it's got something about it that stands out, basically.
It's like your own touch.
Your own touch,
like you were saying, it's an extension of who you are.
Yeah, basically, yes. Is it? Yeah, well, it's what I am, what I used to look like when I used to go out as well. And obviously, I touched on the new romantic scene as well for a bit, and that was very, very creative as well. And a lot of bands and fashion designers and artists came from that scene as well, because that was an extension of their creativity as well.
It's always a big crossover with like music, fashion.
Yeah, exactly. So,
something new comes in and it becomes like a whole wave. You don't really see that so much anymore. Still, these sort of big movements that people kind of commit their whole identity and look and the sound.
Youth culture was massive. You were a goth, you were a romantic, you were a soul boy, you were a punk, you know, and that, and a lot of it you took from each other as well, and that, and you'd get punks in soul clubs, you know what I mean? You get soul boys in new romantic clubs, and vice versa. And it was a bit of a collective. Everybody sort of like knew each other, and you can take things from each other as well. And there were friends created. There was like, you know, and that, not like so much now where it's, I don't know, the music and the look is not as integrated as it used to be back then. Yeah.
And I think a lot of, because you mentioned like personal style earlier, which is such like a buzzword for young people online now is that everyone's crazy about finding this like personal style, but
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like the only way to do it is to look at pictures, whereas before the internet it was more like lived experience and going out and meeting people and seeing, oh, this is interesting, so it had a bit more of an authenticity to it.
Yeah, it was experimenting. If you went out and you wore something and people said, "Oh, I really love that," oh, crack, amazing, you either wear it again or do something around that which is slightly different. But if somebody said, "You look," yeah, you chuck in the bin.
So that's the only time you throw clothes away, when someone diss your outfit.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
So to give new life to garments, you're saying repair them, patch them, change the shape, have an experiment. How did you like build up your visual identity? Because now when I look through like your portfolio, whatever, your pictures, things around here, you've got quite a strong visual style now. You can kind of recognize something that you've made. How did you get from like just doing repairs to what you do now, which is like the way you talk about it is very much like, yeah, just have a go, but it's very skilled work.
Well, it's basically just having an idea. You know, you have a picture in your idea, because, like I say, I can't draw.
Oh, you can't?
No, I can't draw to save my. I can't draw to save my life.
There's a lot of designers that draw as well.
Matchstick men and matchstick, whatever it is. Yeah, that's all I can do. But basically, everything comes in out of your head. You see a jacket, and you think, what can I do with this? What can I do with this? And an idea comes into your head. I mean, obviously, a lot of people will look at my stuff and think, oh, I've copied such and such, but I don't really sort of look at anybody else's design. It really does come from yourself. Maybe they've copied me.
Maybe.
Come to Garçon. Margella.
Or anyone else?
Yeah, I know. But I suppose they are similar. But then again, I use old clothing, you know what I mean? So it's not a case of, I'll would go out of my way to copy anybody else's. So basically, it really just comes out of your head, basically, yeah.
And I guess if you're working with what you've got, they come with their own possibilities and limitations. A framework is already there in a way, so it's kind of like, I guess, a challenge as opposed to people that would start from nothing
and come up with new ideas as well. You know, because everything I basically do it's a one-off. But some things I can recreate, certain things I can recreate, which I have done as well. You know, certain styles of jackets. My double jacket is very, very popular, which I lay one jacket over another sort of thing, and that's very popular. So I can recreate those, and that's a very simple idea as well. And that's with sort of like the seam shown as well. And but other things, it will be just a one-off. I'll get an idea and I'll just do that one thing, and that will be it. You know, or I may do something similar, but it won't be the same anyway. But that's what I like to do. Something that's quite exclusive. Like I said, when I do get visits as well from customers, they come for basically something that's really sort of exclusive and a one-off, and which I love doing. Well, I love getting studio visits for a start, because it's just a whole ball game, because you look at somebody and you can work with them to create something along what they like. It's such a buzz when they go away sort of like, you know, sort of really, really, really happy.
I wanted to ask you 2 more questions, but they're not crazy and scandalous, so don't worry. Okay. So have you always worked in that way, or have you ever put collections together?
I don't do collections.
You don't do collections?
No, I don't do collections. I got everything's a one-off, so it's hard to do a collection, you know. I could do a collection of one-off coats or one-off jackets, one-off shirts and that, but where it's collections like seasonal this and that, not really, no. Because I'm a one-man band, basically. Yeah. It's me. I do have an assistant called Marion Anderson. She comes in and helps me occasionally, and she's really, 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 really good. And she's a designer in her own right as well. And that she just moved over from Nashville, Tennessee, and and she's sort of trying to find her own way in London, and that, and she's absolutely amazing.
And then I also, because I had a feeling you were going to say always one-offs. Have you seen there's like a sort of fashion collective at the moment, Fantastic Twirls. Have you seen these guys?
No, I haven't. I'll have to check them out. So
there's one designer. I used to like model for him many, many years ago, and Nasir Mazar, maybe you heard of him, who used to do a lot of collections, was ascending quite quickly in the fashion week schedule and all this, getting a lot of success, but just didn't enjoy it. I mean, it's a really condensed story, but they've started doing these sales that every month or every couple of months, collect groups of designers, only doing one-off pieces. And some of these designers do show on the schedule. I think Paolo Cosana is one who's on the Fashion Week schedule, but shows there. And it's basically a way for them to not have to do collections, to be able to just have an idea, see it from beginning to end, and then sell it to somebody who's interested in uniquity.
That's my ethos. That is it.
Yeah.
You make something, you sell it, and that's it. And that person's got a one-off piece. Whereas collections are like sizes and X amount of this in size and color and this. Oh no, I couldn't. It's too much of a headache.
I think sometimes when you're a creative person, once it starts getting into numbers and spreadsheets, you
yeah,
just
yeah,
clock
yeah,
out.
yeah.
But I was watching a lot of interviews with some of the designers over there. I think he done an interview with Show Studio, and I've been sort of following the story. And a lot of designers do find it soul crushing to just have to suddenly, they think they've got the success that they want, and then it's someone telling you what to do and make this many, and you've got to sell this much. No. So seeing these designers talk about how refreshing it is to be able to just create one-offs, and then I talk to somebody like you've been doing it the whole time, so you kind of hacked that from the jump.
Yeah, basically I feel like I'm not under pressure. I can come in and work at my own pace, and that makes it more creative because you can think a lot slowly as well. When you're working on something, you're not rushing. You're doing something, and if you feel how I work, I'm working on something, then I'll suddenly get an idea for something else, and I can put that piece down, then work on something else. Then I'll start working on that thing, then I'll get another idea, and I'll put that piece down, then I'll start working. That's how I work. You try to do 5 designs at the same time because you keep getting these ideas all the time.
You don't want to lose it.
Plus, obviously, that thing that you put down, you go back to it anyway because there's no rush to like finish it or whatever and that, and I can come in at any time, any day, and create something. I mean, I love working. My schedule normally is I'll come in about 2 or 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I'll work straight through to like 6 a.m.
Oh wow! So you're a night owl.
I'm a night owl, but then it's people. I have the radio on, that talk sport. I love listening to my football. Sorry,
all good.
And the time just goes because it's so peaceful and quiet. There's no noise. There's nothing in that, and you're in the zone, and the time goes so quickly. And you finish one thing, I think I'm done now. I'm going to finish now. I'm going to go home. Then you get an idea. Then you start with something else, and you finish that, and you're thinking, "That's it now. I'm going to go home now." Then you get another idea. Then you work in another piece, and that's how I love working because it's like there's no pressure, and you really just in a zone, and it's so enjoyable because you're thinking of ideas and designs all the time, and you know it's going to be a one-off, and you have a sort of picture in your head that someone's going to love this when they buy it.
I love hearing people's processes, like different creators, how they work, and it really sounds like you have cracked the key of a enjoyable life.
Yeah.
The way you've designed your work, it's very admirable because you see people they're doing what they love, but they're running themselves into the ground. They're overworked, they're burnt out, but you just kind of go with your natural rhythm. And
it is so much because obviously I go out sourcing and looking for all these things. I go charity shops, I go car boot sales, looking for fabrics and jackets and everything in that. I mean, I'll see a jacket and I'll think, and you don't know what you're going to do with it, but you buy it anyway because somewhere along the line you know what you're going to do, or you see a piece of fabric that looks interesting, but you don't know what you can do with it at the time, but it looks interesting, so you just buy it anyway. You could be here for months and months and months and years even, then suddenly, that jacket and that piece of fabric, I know what I'm going to do with it now, and bosh.
how much of your time does sourcing take up?
I'll get about a couple of times, about 2 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can imagine you have to
go on a Sunday and on a Thursday sourcing.
Nice.
And I'm generally in my studio maybe Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. And I'm Portobello selling Friday and Saturday. Yeah. And Mondays is my day off.
And that's good. You give yourself a day off too, because a lot of sites don't do that.
Yeah. But it's not so bad. I'm not working like 9 to 5. It depends. Sometimes I have Tuesday off, sometimes I have Wednesdays off. You
just do your thing.
You just do my thing, basically. Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love to hear that. So I've got one more question for you that comes to me when we were talking earlier. We were talking a little bit about, you were saying it's so nice to see there's so much more diversity in fashion in all different roles. They've got more photographers, more designers, whoever. Is there anybody that you would love to dress in fashion? Maybe like any models or any musician or even that photographer you'd like to work with? There's like a new up and coming or whatever person.
I've always admired Stormzy. I'd love to dress him.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that working.
Because he's Black British out there. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, and he says it as it is, and that, you know, and that.
And
yeah,
he's very
yeah.
tall, so you know he wears
He's
custom.
yeah, very tall. Yeah,
So
yeah,
he
yeah.
needs,
I
he
could do
needs
like
tailored.
I could do large jackets and stuff. Yeah, that where I could customize large jackets and stuff. Anything for any actors out there or black artists or artists, any red carpet thing. Because some of the things I've made, I think they'll look good on the red carpet even.
Have you done many red carpet?
Nearly. I've done it a few. Not quite, but you know, it would be nice too, you know.
I'm sure it will happen.
Like the Mobo Awards or whatever and that, you know. It would
Yeah.
be nice, it would be nice, yeah.
I can see that because a lot of people
Yeah,
now, they care a lot about who they're wearing as well. They want to support black designers. They want to make
Yeah.
sure that what they wear to these big events is representing
Yeah.
their values and their morals. So,
but I know, but I suppose they all go to ready-made sort of designers. we'll see. I enjoy doing what I'm doing at the moment, and long may it continue.
that's the main thing. It's been a pleasure to hear your story.
Thank you.
And to visit your studio as well.
Lovely,
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks for having me. Like I say, anything. I basically just, this is the lining taken out from another coat.
Oh, wow.
And I've put it over this, and I've obviously used a vintage sack for the pocket. So my favourites. There you go.
Oh, wow. Let me see the coat. Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks, yeah.
So cool. I've just left Herbie's studio and I just feel so inspired. You can just tell he loves his job so much. He was saying as I was leaving he was going to have a day off today, but now he's in the studio. As we were talking, he got more ideas and he's going to work on shirts today. And I just thought, what a great life this guy has. And we were just chatting. He put me onto so many designers that I didn't know about. I just love when you leave and you feel like you've spoken to someone who's just really passionate about what they do. A lot of people don't like to be on video, you know, so I really appreciate it when they do. And I hope you're appreciating this really great angle that I'm filming on right now. I hope you enjoyed hearing all about Herbie Mensah as much as I enjoyed going to meet him. You can find links to all his social media in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Sharing is the important one, actually. So please tell a friend to tell a friend if you enjoyed this series so far. And as usual, I will see you next week with another fabulous guest. Bye!